Devin Nunes has apparently accomplished everything he intended to when nearly 20 years ago he entered the Congress, because he is now choosing to move on. He said this recently. Recently, I was presented with a new opportunity to fight for the most important issues I believe in. I'm writing to let you know I've decided to pursue this opportunity, and therefore I will be leaving the House of Representatives at the end of 2021, which is in like weeks. Rest assured, I have not by any means given up on our collective fight. I'll just be pursuing it through other means. I haven't given up. It's just like I got a job offer and so I'm leaving like in like a week. Like I'm done. I know I just ran and you elected me rather than someone else who was gonna stay the whole time and actually cared about serving you. But I was looking for the way out and I found it, so I'm gone. And Trump is happy about this because he's gonna be working for Trump, as we'll describe. Trump had this to say about it. Congressman Devin Nunes is a fighter and a leader. He will make excellent CEO of TMTG, the Trump social media site. Devin understands that we must stop the liberal media and big tech from destroying the freedoms that make America great. America is ready for Truth Social and the end of censorship and political discrimination. And so he's gonna be the CEO for this nonsensical, already under investigation, soon to blow up social media site. And that is the ostensible reason for leaving. He's gonna become the CEO of TMTG. There are other potential explanations that we'll get into, but down goes Nunes?
Not really, okay.
Out goes Nunes?
Yes, that's true.
Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna show you a clip from mainstream news that actually did a decent job of talking about one of the reasons why Nunes might be leaving, but there's two other giant ones that I'm gonna tell you right now. Number one, he's redistricted, okay? And so after the census, the top of each decade, they redistrict all the states. And so he's in California, and Democrats control California. They could redistrict it any way that they like. And it looks like Nunes is largely a Republican district, and there aren't that many of those in California, is going to get redistricted to, from what I hear, a slight majority Democratic district. So could he win that election? He could. Could he lose that election? Yes, he could lose that election. So
it was Biden +8, I think.
Yeah, then that's not even slight. He probably would lose that election.
Maybe.
So that's actually a fairly logical move, which Devin Nunes not known for. Okay, but the other side of the equation is also super important, which is that this SPAC of Trump's, this new venture that he's doing. SPAC is a technical term for how they're taking it public and raising money for it. It has run into some issues that you might have heard about with the SEC and they're investigating, et cetera. But what you probably haven't heard that much is because of the, and this would take a whole nother story to explain, but because of the way that that is structured financially, Trump could make several $1 billion from it. And the CEO would certainly make a lot of money. So now, and remember, why are politicians in politics in the first place? Well, 90% of them are in politics to get rich, famous, and powerful, right? So if you're the head of the House Ways and Means Committee, that's one of the most powerful positions in all of Washington. But you do that, a lot of them do, the majority of them do, so that they can one day retire and become lobbyists and make millions of dollars. Well, a CEO at a media company worth billions of dollars is probably gonna make way more than he would as a lobbyist years later, decades later, et cetera. So he's going, he's going straight to go without stopping at jail, right? Or without stopping at the committee chairmanship. And so given that he was probably gonna get redistricted out, and hence he wouldn't even be in Congress to get that powerful seat, and given that he's probably gonna make a ton of money here, it makes a lot of sense. But there's two other big picture things that I wanna talk about.
Sure, okay, I have things I wanna talk about after that. But yes, let's get into some of the other explanations, including what you'll see in this video.
The power in being a conservative Republican today, many people think, and the former president thinks, is in the media. It's in how do you galvanize an audience? How do you lead a movement? And also, if you pull the frame back a little bit, is this a breakaway moment for conservative media to just create a completely parallel audience outside of Twitter and Facebook and cable news and network news?
Can I just say, well, I think what you're saying is really important here, which is that in the Republican world right now, being close to Donald Trump, carrying his water in whichever way, is more important. You are more powerful than being chair of the tax writing and financial committee in Congress, which has enormous power with billions of dollars here. Being Trump's friend is more important.
Yeah, potentially. So they're going to create this shadow media world, which I feel like they already have. I understand they're focusing more on the social aspect of it. They certainly have it in terms of news. They're not consuming anything anymore. They're never being exposed to anything that challenges anything they already believe. So I guess they'll have that for social media. Is it going to be like a mass market play though? Because there are limited controls on how these absolute monsters act in social media. When they have their own, they're going to, regardless of whatever they say about censorship and cancel culture, they're going to like weed out any lib, any lefty who tries to post on there. So when a regular person signs on to this thing, is it just going to be blatant anti-Semitism, racism, misogyny, and that sort of thing? And they hate those sorts of controls. I have a feeling it's going to be absolutely disgusting. But in addition, they've chosen Devin Nunes, and I don't even necessarily agree that individually he'll have more power, influence over the right doing this than being in Congress. But and forget any sort of obligation to your constituents to serve out the rest of your term, even if you think you can't get reelected, or if you think you might end up losing, you leaving earlier actually gives the Democrats an additional seat earlier, which seems like that's not good from the point of view of your party. But wouldn't being the CEO of a company like this actually be a position that matters? I mean, he's been in Congress for 20 years. Is he in any way qualified to be the CEO of a major media company?
So that's a great question, John. So that's one of the things I was going to get to. So there's two other major things here. Number one, did Trump make the right decision by picking Devin Nunes for the CEO position? And the unequivocal answer is no. It was a disastrous decision, and it's the kind of decision Trump always makes. And so let me explain why. From a business perspective, there are plenty of right-wingers who are actually really good businessmen, okay? And I hate to say that, but it's true. And so if he had picked a real business person to be the CEO, this company could be worth billions upon billions, and actually what it could do, because of the way that it's getting financed, it could then consolidate right-wing media, and it could bring in the Breitbarts and the Daily Wires and the Telegrams, because it has so much money that it can raise. And then it could become a bit of a giant and then compete with the other platforms. And I heard a podcast of right-wingers in Silicon Valley salivating over this, right? Because it was both, because it serves their ideological purpose, and everybody there would get rich off of it, right? And most especially Donald Trump. But instead of picking a savvy right-wing business person, and there are millions, Silicon Valley, not millions, there's a couple, but in Silicon Valley, Peter Thiel, for example, is like right-wing evil, right? Like really bad person, but a really good business person. And in Silicon Valley, oh, he's a god. They're like, they don't care at all how despicable a person he is. They like Elon Musk, etc. They like, oh yes, yes. In Silicon Valley, the rest of them pretend to be liberal, but they look up to these right-wing monsters. But they are decent business people.
But they're also independent thinkers potentially.
Yes, exactly, John. So Trump went with the old mob boss mentality. You don't pick the most competent, you pick the most loyal. Because Trump is going to try to take as much money out of that company and put it into his pocket. He doesn't have to, he's such a schmuck. The way it's structured, he could actually get the money funneled to him perfectly legally and in hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions, right?
And he's already a billionaire.
Right, but he can't help himself. He's a natural crook. So instead he puts in a patsy idiot to be the CEO, because what he values most is loyalty, because he's gonna go to Nunes and say, just give me the goddamn money. And by the way, if Nunes doesn't break the law in giving him the money, he's gonna be CEO for a couple of months. And then he's gonna be like, oops, what did I do, right? Because Trump will demand that you ruin yourself for his benefit.
Well, but then he will repay your loyalty. Right? No, but like,
well, ask Scaramucci, ask Michael Cohen, ask all those guys. No one. Ask Rudy Giuliani, who's now begging in the streets, right?
Sidney Powell might lose her legal license too.
What's Giuliani doing? Cameo? He's humiliating himself for like $50 a pop.
They're pretty good. They're pretty good. I bought several, one a month. I try to ration it, but So from Devin Nunes, like in 5 years, he's gonna be out of Congress.
Yeah.
Maybe the company will still be around, but he'll have been thrown under the bus because of some, I don't know, cancel culture thing or like some scandal that they need a scapegoat for. Why do this? Are they all just this stupid that they really think they'll be the last person? Or does he think he's gonna extract enough money beforehand to make it worthwhile?
No, that goes back to the original things we were discussing in this last part of the big picture. So yeah, he's likely gonna lose the race, so he's not actually losing anything, right? Okay. So number two is, if it works out, and he of course thinks it's gonna work out, he could make a lot of money as the CEO of that company. And that is going to be very alluring to a corrupt politician.
Sure.
Right? That's the main reason they're in this line of work, is to sell out. And this is the perfect opportunity to sell out. Now, what's going to happen in reality, I put the over under at 6 months, and you should really take the under. Okay, like within 6 months, Trump is gonna ask him to like put a sword through his ear or something, and give just like literally go and rob a bank and give it to him, right? And he's not gonna be able to do it, and then Trump's gonna throw him under the bus. 5 years, you're crazy. There's no way he lasts 5 years. You could write that down in stone. So then he's out of a job, but then how much money was he able to extract in that 6 months is the question. But the last part of it is really important, and what they were alluding to on CNN. Look, they missed a ton of nuance in that story. And then John Berman misdirected it by saying being Trump's friend is more important than being a politician. But the Axios reporter was onto the right track. Media is more important than politics. And so Trump's use of media is what got him elected president in the first place. Democrats don't understand the power of media at all. They're used to mainstream media doing exactly what they are told, but they don't actually use messaging. They don't push out their message. They don't understand that. The reality is, for decades in this country, the most powerful man in the country easily was Roger Ailes, who ran Fox News. And he would set the agenda, and every Republican politician would follow that agenda. He even rigged the 2000 election so that Bush would win. You remember that story? He put Bush's cousin as the election counter at Fox News. They called it first, everybody else panicked and fought because they didn't want to lose to Fox News. And so even though Bush had not won, it's just, so the media is massively important. And even the right wing was like, Roger Ailes and Murdoch had figured it out, right? But the rest of the right-wing politicians were kind of slow to figure it out. The Democrats are the worst. They haven't figured it out at all, right? In terms of how to get their message out, how to do a narrative, how to set the message, right? How to set the framing. So media is more important than politics. This is an example of that. This is almost a symbol of that. But at the end of the day, it is inconceivable that Trump will run that company in a way where it will actually be competitive with Facebook and the other platforms. Both him and his lackeys have nowhere near the competence to be able to do that. But don't get too excited, guys. The SEC is looking into it, but you know, no one ever holds Trump accountable, right? True. He just cries louder and louder until they go, okay, fine, we won't do anything. So the idea that he'll be held accountable is at a near 0%. And the way that those SPACs are set up, he can extract a couple of $1 billion and then have the company do nothing and get no profits or even any revenue and sink. And then the people who are the suckers at the table are, as usual, the right-wing audience that believed him and invested into that vehicle, especially the regular investors, the guys that are all over the internet, that are on their subreddits, etc. Oh, they're already ready to rush in, and they're gonna give all their money to Trump. He's gonna take it, put it in his pocket, and then he's gonna say, oh my golly, gee, this thing was really hard, man. I had this thing figured out, but next thing you know, I went bankrupt, which is what he did 6 different times. So you already know he's gonna do it.
And he'll blame the investigators and people trying to take him down.
Of course, and he'll blame the left wing, and he'll blame all the, and he'll blame Nunes. Okay,
likely, yes.
Right. And the right wingers who gave him all that billions of dollars, they'll believe it in a second, and they'll be like, oh my God, you know, there's nothing we can do, I guess. Big man took our money. And that's how this story is going to end.
Yeah, we'll just see how long it takes.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.